So let's move on to the next question, guys. In this question, we are given that a construction company was paid a total of $500,000 for a construction project. So this was the total payment. The company's only cost for the project were for the labors and the materials. So the cost included labor and the materials, right? The company's total cost was 3 times the cost for materials. So the total cost for the company was 3 times the cost of materials. Okay. And the company's profit was greater than the cost for labor. The company's profit was greater than the cost for labor, right? And we are asked to calculate the relationship between profit and 150,000. So the first thing that people get confused over here is that the difference between payment and cost. So payment means the total payment that the company received, right? So whenever you pay a person, so there is a cost involved plus the person will be making a profit. So when you add both of these things, then the total payment is achieved, right? So basically, total payment, total payment means the cost involved. So the total payment which the company receives, that is equal to the cost involved of the company plus the profit which the company is making. So firstly, this thing should be very clear that the payment which the company receives, that is equals to the cost. The company is spending some money, so that is the cost, and it is also making some profit, right? So this is one thing which should be very clear, right? Okay. Now let's assume that we have taken the cost of labor to be L and the cost of material to be M, right? So tell me one thing, uh, the payment, the cost is equals to labor plus material, right? So that means the cost is equals to labor plus material. I hope this should be clear. The cost is equals to labor plus material, right? We also know that the total cost which is this, right? That is equals to 3 times the cost of materials, which means the total cost which is this is also what? 3 times the cost of materials. So 3m. I hope this should also be very clear that the total cost will obviously be L plus M, which is labor plus materials, but it is also given in the question that the total cost is equals to 3 times the material cost. So L plus M is equals to 3m. So we can write from here that L is equals to 2m. So this is one thing which we can derive from here, that L is equals to 2m. I hope this should be very clear, right? Now the next thing is that the payment is equals to 500,000, right? So what is payment? So if I talk about the payment, so payment is equals to what? The cost plus profit. Payment is equals to cost plus profit, right? So tell me one thing, what is the payment? The payment is 500,000. So this comes out to be 500,000 is equals to, what is the cost? The cost is 3m, right? The cost is L plus M, or we can also write it 3m. So the cost is 3m, right? And let's suppose the profit is P. I mean, we don't know the profit, so we are assuming the profit is P, right? So this is one more equation that we have found out. I hope this should be clear. So we can write from here that P is equals to how much? 500,000 minus 3m. 500,000 minus 3m. So this is what comes out to be P. I hope this should be very clear, right? Okay. And we also know that profit is greater than the cost for labor, right? We know that profit is greater than the cost of labor. And what is the cost of labor? L. So L, right? And we know L is equals to 2m. We know that L is equals to 2m. So instead of L, we can write over here 2m. I hope this should be fine, no doubt in there. So there should be no doubt in this, right? Also, we know that profit is what? 500,000 minus 3M. So instead of profit, we can write this, right? So we can write 500,000 minus 3M is greater than 2M. I hope this is very clear, right? This means that 3M, if you take it over there, so 5M is less than 500,000. So if you solve this, you will get M is less than 100,000. So this is one of the most important things that you have derived over here, that the value of M, this is M, the value of M is less than 100,000. I hope this is clear, right? Okay. Now tell me one thing, that we have to calculate the profit, right? We have to calculate the profit. So if M is less than 100,000, right? So we can say that if we multiply 3 on both the sides, 3M will be less than 300,000. I think this should be very fine, that if M is less than 100,000, then 3M should be less than 300,000, right? I think now you should get the answer. Now tell me one thing, if 3M is less than 300,000, and if you subtract 500,000 minus 3M, right? This means that the value of P will be greater than 200,000, right? For example, 3M is less than 300,000, right? For example, it's 299,000, for example. So what will be, so the value of 3M, let's suppose it's 299,000. So 500,000 minus 3M is what? 299,000. So this will give us what? This will give us 201,000. So what I mean over here is that if 3M is less than 300,000, then the value of this will be greater than what? 200,000, because 500,000 minus 300,000, this will be greater than 200,000. That means the value of P, and what is P? P is profit. So the profit will be greater than 200,000, that is for sure, right? So we can say that that P is greater than 200,000. This is the one thing which we can say, that P is greater than 200,000. Now we were said in the question that we had to calculate the profit and 150,000. Since we know the profit P is greater than 200,000, so obviously this part is greater than this, so your answer becomes A. I hope this should be clear. There should be no doubt in this. If you want to understand this part a little more carefully, so let's do one thing. We know 3M is less than 300,000, right? So let's multiply minus on both sides. So this will become minus 3M, right? If we multiply a negative sign in an inequality, the sign gets reversed. So this will become greater than, right? And this will become minus 300,000, right? Now tell me one thing, we have to calculate 500,000 minus 3M. So if we add 500 to both the sides, then what will this become? 500,000 minus 3M is greater than 500,000 minus 300,000, right? So basically we added 500,000 to both the sides. Now tell me one thing, what is this? 500,000 minus 3M is P. So this is P, right? Is greater than, what is 500,000 minus 300,000? It's 200,000. So this is the same answer that you have got, basically, right? So we know the profit is greater than 200,000. So obviously this part is greater than this. So the answer becomes A. I hope this should be clear.